Hey Tyers, Darren here. Welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. Today we're going to be tying a pattern from Phil Wright, which was developed for the Big Hole River. He was the owner of the Complete Fly Fisher in Wise River, Montana back in the day. This pattern originates from sometime in the 1970s and was used as an attractor fly, but it could be seen as an imitation for either a flying ant or a caddis pattern. The royal coloration of peacock, red, and peacock is seen on quite a few different flies like the Coachman or the royal stimulator, that type of thing, but it fits really nicely into this trude style fly. The wing can be tied with either calf tail or deer, elk, raccoon, or even badger. The hackle that's used on this can either be just a straight Coachman brown or even a Cree is suggested on some patterns. So let's have a look at the materials and get started. Let's get a fresh hook in the vise. We're using a Mustad 94840 and I'm tying in a number 10 here today just so we can have a little bit closer look at it on the video. And I'm going to be using a 6/0 Flymaster. It's a 70 denier thread. It's got a nice thin profile. And we'll just start by putting a base layer of thread from the head down to the bend. So first we're going to take a couple peacock herls. I'm going to take those right off the stem. And I like to use two. You could probably get away with one if you like, but I like using two. Just kind of gives you a bit of a fuller body on this. And I tend to just stroke those fibers down, just helps fill out the body of the fly. So we basically want to divide that into thirds. So we're probably to about here for the first third. So we'll just advance our thread to there. And we're just going to wrap that forward. And we'll tie that off. And what I like to do is I just like to tie down those herls. Next we're going to bring in our body material, the red floss. Just going to tie that in here. Now you can trim off this peacock if you like. And we'll tie in some new stuff for the front part of our royal treatment. So we'll just take that up to the 2/3 point. I'm going to add a half hitch. Just so that doesn't slip off. And so I'm using a Danville 4-strand floss here. And obviously I've just separated that into single strands. This just gives you a little bit more control over the application of the floss. So what I do is I like to just pull the floss so you can see how it's kind of flattened out here. Then we'll just wrap that. And you want to try and avoid twisting the floss because that'll make it bunch up a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfectly flat. It's not the best application here, but that'll do. We'll just wrap that back and trim off the excess. Alright, next we're going to take a little bit of whitetail deer. This is a Florida whitetail. This doesn't have a ton of underfur in it, so we're just going to take a small clump. And just doing the research on this pattern, there's a number of different materials that you can use or have been used for the wing, and those could be elk, deer, badger, calf tail. So we're just going to carefully, I'm going to remove the underfur and all the short hairs. Just get rid of that. One thing I like to do is just take my scissors and kind of push it through like that. You can see any of the guard hairs come out. So you could probably just tie that in like that if you like. I'm actually going to put this into a hair stacker. Just did a quick stack on that. And then we're going to measure that out. So we just want that to come to just maybe a touch beyond the bend in the tail in the hook. So transfer this over. Then we'll trim off the butt ends, just clean that up. We'll tie those down. So I'm going to use looser wraps towards the back here. And then as I go forward, I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. And you don't want this to flare too much. Next we're going to take a couple more pieces of Peacock herl. Actually first we're going to tie in the hackle. So I've got a Coachman brown hackle here. This is the size for the hook. And we're just going to pull off a few of the bottom hackle fibers. And I'm going to tie this with the dull side facing out. And I like to just bend that hackle tip back just a little bit, just to make sure that it's really secure in there. Alright, now we'll take those two peacock herls, trim the bases off, tie those in, and we'll give 3 or 4 wraps forward. Just want to be careful here that you're not going to crowd the eye. Just going to put a half hitch in there. So do 3 or 4 wraps of the peacock. We'll tie that off. And I like to just bend those back. Clean those up. I'm going to add another half hitch just so that the thread doesn't slide off the hook there. So now we're going to wrap our dry hackle. The stem's a little bit twisted, so it might go back and forth, but should be fine. So that looks about right. 5 wraps. I'll just trap that up here. Couple wraps, and then we're going to push everything backwards just to lock that into place. Trim that. Now just give ourselves a little bit of thread. And as I'm wrapping this, when I'm doing my dry flies, I just like to use my thumb and forefinger just to pull all the hackle out of the way. You don't want to trap any in the whip finish at the head. Do our double whip finish here. Then we'll just add a touch of head cement, secret sauce on there. And there you go. Wright's Royal. Hey fly tyers, thanks for stopping by and watching my fly tying videos. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that bell icon to get notified on the latest fly patterns, tips, and reviews. If you've enjoyed the video, hit that like button and post a comment below. If you'd like to support the content on the channel and get rewarded, you can visit my Patreon page. Until next time, this is Darren saying, keep a hook in your vise. Cheers.